Welcome to Doing the Most, the series where we talk about the misadventures of entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Georgie, execution strategist and serial entrepreneur. This series is here to get real about what entrepreneurial life truly looks like. We are driven, persistent, hardworking, ambitious. We are human, and these are our stories. Please note, all Season 1 episodes were previously recorded for our video series. And welcome back to another episode of Doing the Most, the misadventures of entrepreneurship. Today we have Abba Onyeani. He's a founder, father, entrepreneur, family businessman, husband, writer, and so many other great things. He's also a part of Fraternity Kappa Alpha Psi. Did I say that right? Okay. And today we have him talking about his businesses, his wristband company, as well as his grooming company. But I'm going to let him tell you a little bit more about himself and the work that he's been doing over the last couple of years as an entrepreneur.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. My name is Abba Onyeani. I'm a self-taught web developer, writer, author, and educator. Also a brother of Kappa Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. My journey is wonderful in terms of being a second generation Nigerian born here in New Jersey. My father immigrated from Nigeria. He met my wonderful mom in New York. They were both concerned with the Biafra movement, which was the independent country that was trying to be born from the landmass of Nigeria. It was before we got the Nigerian independence. So they actually met in New York, working on that project. And my mom was giving donation supplies to the children of the Biafran War. And my father was actually an intelligence officer with the Biafran War. So it was an interesting combination. My mom is Crucian. She's from St. Croix and Atlanta. We have family from Atlanta as well. And then my father, of course, Nigerian. So I grew up in East Orange, understanding things, having the best of both worlds, family educated at the same time. East Orange is a great place in terms of it could be street at some point, and then it's like kind of a little bit suburban on the next. Some people like Whitney Houston, Haunted by Nature from the Queen Latifah. So growing up there was great. It gave me a sense of balance of who I needed to be and great things to aspire to other than music. I always loved to write. My father was a writer, publisher, self-taught himself about publishing. And basically just growing up, I had the sense of understanding entrepreneurship and what it meant to become an entrepreneur from my dad. He founded the African Sun-Times newspaper, which was one of the first African-owned newspapers here in the U.S.
Nice.
Yes, thank you. Watching him in that journey and his many businesses, he had shipping businesses, he had a travel agency. Watching him go from, I didn't necessarily see him when he was working for insurance, New York Life Insurance. He's one of the top sellers, but he said he wanted to be his own boss. So he chose to become an entrepreneur and pursue writing, which is always his love. He always was a great writer. So seeing that journey of entrepreneurship, writing, and mixed with, growing up in East Orange, I developed my own writing style, writing poetry, being very creative, doing a little acting here and there in school. And what I found myself doing was trying to start different businesses, from promoting parties to starting a hip hop website. Now finished. It was called the Black Urban Times. It was great. Had a great journey, great hip hop blog. We had some notable achievements at that time. We had a great article where we talked about the dance of planking, and we correlated it to slavery. And it was like the hugest article because Bow Wow retweeted it, Ocho Cinco retweeted it, and it was pretty big. So being a blogger and also at the same time being an educator, I found myself torn between those two worlds because I had a hip hop website that was great. Same time being an educator, I didn't want it to affect that start of that career. So became an educator for about 10, 11, 12 years. Um, in that journey, I taught myself how to develop websites. Started off with Blogger, and then from there, I said, "Why well, I keep paying these people?" And I learned CMS and WordPress, and also taught myself Photoshop and graphic design. Um, and I think growing up with a dad like that and seeing how he wore a lot of hats, it helped me push myself to want to learn more. Going from web designer to graphic designer, and then I began to write. I took my journey to writing. In between papers, when I was working on my bachelor's, master's, going back to school for teaching, I decided to actually create my first book, which was a book called Mommy Can You Please Comb My Hair, a children's book about a journey of my wife and daughter who, they have natural hair. So I wanted to write about that. And I said, let's finish this book. So I love to write, so I would just write on my BlackBerry sometimes, put it all together. A great illustrator I met, Kofi Johnson out of Florida. He now lives in Ghana. He illustrated the book. So got the book done. That gave me really some notoriety as far as being a Black man coming up with a natural hair book back in 2011. So I didn't know it was going to be like this natural hair movement now. It's great. So I'm going to actually try and get the book done in paperback. I wanted to get it out there a little more, to get it in the hands of boys and girls who have this beautiful hair. So with learning how to do website design, started my consulting company, AO Consulting Services, designed a few different websites. And after my father passed in 2016, I learned the ins and outs of publishing through watching him self-publish his books, through understanding how royalties creates passive income, through understanding how with the various blogs I had, how to use AdSense to create passive income. So it was a great journey in finding my different routes to understand how technology can be used to create passive income. I came up with Swole Bands, swolebands.com, wristband company. By I really admired Live Strong, Cam Newton, the way he wore bands, and just seeing ballers wear wristbands. I thought it was real cool. So I said, why not have a wristband company with hashtags, with messages, and the hashtag makes it's a physical product company. At the same time, there's a merging of tech there with the hashtag of motivation, bodybuilding, body goals. So by making that company, I was able to make some for one actress. I can't remember her, but she's on The Master of None. Black woman, great woman. And then I made bands for Fred Biggie Smalls, who's an IFBB pro bodybuilder as well. So I made custom bands for them. Then I had my own wristband company. So that was awesome. So I went to this tech basket in Newark, New Jersey. Has a great burgeoning tech scene. Anthony Fraser, City Medina, they're doing some great things with Equal Space in Newark with Ross Baraka out there. And I went to this event and met these group of brothers who were there, and they were interested in Swole Bands. They were interested in doing a limited run. So I was like, okay, cool, let's do that. And we decided to do some things, but I wanted more money and I wanted them to order more bands. So I said, maybe not. And at the same time, I was talking to my wife, and she said, oh, the braiding shop is full. I said, why not have the people come out to your house? That'd be cool. She's like, oh, yeah, that sounds cool. So that's how I came up with the idea for Patewo. is like we wanted to have groomers come out to the home. This was before I found out about other great companies who there's sisters who are doing those types of things. But I said, let's do it different. Let's have brothers come out to the home and cut people's hair, and basically you can have a Money Mayweather type of flow, but for less. You know, like you have concierge grooming services coming to your house. So they loved that idea. They jumped on board. I worked with some developers out of Mumbai, and it was cool. It was a cool app at the time. We released it on Google Play. So then we noticed some bumps along the road as far as the back end was concerned and the dashboard. And that goes into that entrepreneurial journey. I didn't just say, let's give it up, let's just be finished. What we did, I remixed everything and made it a web application using some software. Um, and basically now we have a few groomers, a few barbers on board. And now we actually found another developer who's a young brother from the States, which makes this journey a lot easier because being a web developer and designer, I like to wear a lot of hats and I like to have a lot of control over things. So I noticed working with, and that could be a word of advice, but contracting with people overseas through Upwork and various means, Fiverr and different things, you really can get into some serious situations as far as control back end, also design issues and legal issues. You have to really vet the people you work with if you want to work with someone to build something great in tech. And if you want to work with someone overseas, I I wouldn't really do it. Like again, when I think about it, I'm just going to stay in the States, work with someone, and that's what my partner said too with the Patewo. I'm fine for someone in the States, and I actually thought they were going to be like, okay, brother, that's it. You know, let's if they got equity, they put some money in. And I thought they were going to say, let's just forget this, let's do something else. But they decided to stick with me, and we're on this journey together. So, also with my father's situation, him passing, transitioning to be ancestors, all that good stuff from Black Panther. You know, my brother and I took over African Sun Times, and now we put everything online, and you know, it's wonderful because he built something that is lasting. It's a family owned business. You know, it's at AfricanSunTime.com, and we have visitors from Nigeria to Idaho coming to see what's going on in
I'm gonna
Africa.
pause and interrupt you for real quick because I want to dive into a little bit more of something that you were just mentioning.
Yes.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about why you feel it's important to have a family-owned business because you said your dad inspired you. You guys continued his business, and you have children of your own. What makes it important for you, like, to have that family-owned business?
I think having a family-owned business is helpful in not only teaching the entrepreneurial mindset, but also teaching generational wealth and how
Mm-hmm.
you transcend it over time. Like someone like who owns real estate, you can pass down that real estate to someone else. If you have a business that you've seen as a kid to understand how it runs, you can pass it down to your kids to 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 keep generating that wealth for the family and keep bringing in that passive income. Uh, Wearing two hats of being having a profession as an educator and also having the skills as a web developer slash publisher slash author writer. I learned that from my dad, and being family owned is important because it's that all in where my brother, he puts his part in, I put my part in, and then at the same time my daughter as young as 8, I could teach her about CMS, WordPress, what she has to do to run the business. So it's important as far as creating generational wealth having a family-owned business and creating passive income for the family. It's something that transcends over time. And again, it's something that can be passed down. And that's what I believe my dad was doing when he was creating these things. He grew
Yeah,
up in that.
definitely. And then if we could talk a little bit more about, you said that the web development and a lot of the skills that you learned were self-taught. Was that your first choice, or did you just find it easier to go out there and learn it yourself? Did you have the opportunity to go to school for it, or did you just feel like, okay, I want to learn this. I'm already doing something in school. I want to add this on. So like, what was that? Not debate, but what was that experience like?
Yeah, that experience was I had a blogger site. I pretty much, I found out just how to design that. I went through some tutorials online because YouTube wasn't even really popping like that back then. So it was like '05, '06, around there. And I wasn't really seeing stuff on, I don't even remember if there was a YouTube. I can't remember watching videos. But through trial and error and watching online tutorials, I guess it was Daily Motion, maybe other videos that were online, I was able to find out how to, basically do it, and it was great. So learning Blogger and then seeing Bossip and other cool websites using WordPress, I said, there has to be a way to do this better. So I went through trial and error, buying a domain, understanding hosting. My cousin is a web developer. He was self-taught. He was in Europe with his father being an ambassador. I don't know how the heck this boy taught himself, but he taught himself HTML and everything. And he's in the middle of Amsterdam somewhere with his dad, who was the Nigerian ambassador. His name is Uchendu Nwachukwu. I want to shout him out. He's over there in New York. He works for a great company. And he was just like, you just have to go through it. You really have to dive in, because I had invested some money in someone and they built the site, but then they didn't put the backlinks in. So I lost a bunch of my traffic. I said, no way, I'm not going to let this happen to me again. I decided to go full-fledged into learning CMS, WordPress. And then I said, from there, I want to learn Photoshop. So I bought the software, just played around with it, and just started teaching myself how to do logos, how to do banners, how to make, if a company doesn't have an advertising agency, I wore that hat too. And I created their ad to put onto my site. So it's really just a matter of diving in with this journey. And it's great because just like swimming, these are life skills. These are life skills that can enable you to have a passive income, to create generational wealth where you have skills that you can pass down to your kids. At the same time, you can teach someone else these skills. You can definitely use it for mentoring. And I talk to my students all the time about things like this, about how learning web development is the greatest thing I could do for myself.
All right. And you mentioned students. What grade do you teach, or age group?
Yeah, I teach middle school and high school
Okay.
already. And I'm actually a certified English teacher. So I have my English degree. And I was always in love with the English language as far as writing poetry, writing books, sports, all those types of things. And that's what makes me a different type of teacher, because I'm also a self-taught web developer. So I teach technology, and then I teach financial literacy to kids to help them understand the ins and outs of money, good credit, bad credit, and how to use entrepreneurship to create passive income for themselves.
Awesome. And what do you think has been let's just stick with this year, in 2018, like what has been the craziest thing that has happened in your entrepreneurial journey?
I think the craziest thing, other than interviewing with you on this show, is
Thank you.
I don't know, I gotta find something to tie with that. But the craziest thing is just like Skyping at 3 a.m. with Mumbai about how to get this app developed, because that was something I had never really done as far as the app development journey and how it's so different from developing a website. I was like, wow, there's so many ins and outs to this, from the icon to the back end, how the dashboard is different. Everything has to be aligned. There's so many intricate pieces, and how you actually have to have two apps developed for two different OSs, Android and iPhone. Not a lot of people know about all that stuff. And then you got to have a dashboard that is seamless with all of these things. So that journey has really been one of the craziest things, just because, trying to work with developers overseas and having all the highs and lows of it. That's really been the crazy thing. And meeting people, other young brothers like me who are like-minded, that's really been also a crazy journey, as far as just meeting people who are like-minded, who also want to create passive income, generational wealth. They want to do things like me. So that's been crazy and cool at the same time. Because sometimes I meet other brothers, they cool with the job thing, but they're like, I'm not sure about this whole entrepreneurial journey. So I'm like, okay, I got to move on. I guess, being born into my family and watching my dad on his entrepreneurial journey, maybe it's, it could be a family thing.
Yeah. And I think what we have to acknowledge is that not everyone is cut to be the founder or the startup person or the entrepreneur, but I think everyone should have entrepreneurial tendencies, so know how to innovate inside of where, if you're working for a big organization or a small team or a nonprofit, be able to go and say, okay, I'm going to create and build and add value upon this thing, but understand that not everyone is meant to be the CEO or the person in charge or the person that comes up with the idea, and that's okay. We're coming up on our time now, so I want to start wrapping up. And the final question I want to ask you is, what advice would you give to an up-and-coming person, a dreamer that's out there getting ready to start their business or has an idea that they haven't launched yet? What type of advice would you offer to them?
Well, now in 2018, I would say jump into it. I would say, like, if you're a first-time person who's never swam before, you got to jump in the water to learn how to swim. So you really have to jump in to entrepreneurship. It's something you can't be too timid and say, what if, what if, what if. You got to kind of put your back against the wall and say, I'm going to do it, and just go full-fledged, because there's really no telling what you could build if you put your mind to it. And there's really no telling what you will achieve. But if you don't do it, if you don't try to jump in to this great journey of entrepreneurship, you'll never know, and then you'll end up in the land of what ifs.
Definitely.
And that's not where you want to be. Don't want to be in that way, because fortunately I've done a lot of things, and fortunately about life, I can't say I'm in a what ifs. I mean, I've been in a commercial for Adidas. I've promoted parties with thousands of other people, interviewed celebrities. Now I'm a web developer. I'm interviewing. I'm being featured on your show. So it's like, you have to jump into this life, because you only have one life to live.
Definitely. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Abba. Everyone that's out there listening and watching, his information is going to be down below in the caption section. So check out his work, check out Swobens, check out Patewo, and see, his next business adventures. And, his journey is only beginning. Well, in the middle of it, he has some great stuff coming up, and you never know, maybe your child will be a student in one of his middle school or high school classes. And we'll catch you next time on Doing the Most. But go ahead, you had some things to say?
Don't forget, and also, I just released a paperback version of my book. Slave Ships Doesn't Mean Black History to Me. It's a paperback version of it. It's on Amazon now. If you type Abba Onyeani on Amazon, you'll see stuff.
Awesome. And I'll also include the link for that book in the captions as well, so that way everyone can check it out. Thank you so much, Abba, and we'll see you next time on Doing the Most. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Doing the Most. Catch us here next week, same time, same place. If you can't wait, head on over to doingthemost.xyz to stay connected. Until next time, keep on doing.